Picture this, it's late evening in a small American town called Maplewood, the kind of place where the crickets chirp so loud at night you'd think they're auditioning for a band. The houses are all lined up in neat little rows, white picket fences, SUVs parked in driveways, porch lights flickering on as the sun dips behind the horizon. It's a Tuesday, but it feels like a Monday that overstayed its welcome. You know that vibe, when the air is just heavy with, ugh, tomorrow's another day. Now, inside one of those cozy two-story homes with a faded American flag swinging gently on the front porch, sits a student, Ethan Miller. 16 years old, a junior in high school. He's got that mop of chestnut hair that refuses to behave, glasses sliding halfway down his nose, and an oversized hoodie that screams, I gave up on fashion, I chose survival. The hoodie has the school mascot on it, a bulldog that looks more tired than fierce. His jeans are baggy, his socks mismatched, and somewhere in the house, his mom is still yelling about laundry day like it's a national emergency. The weather outside is crisp, autumn air. Maple leaves scatter across the quiet street, glowing under street lamps like fiery confetti. Inside Ethan's room, however, it's a completely different storm, a storm of textbooks, loose leaf papers, sticky notes, and crumpled Chipotle napkins doubling as bookmarks. His desk looks like a crime scene where algebra and history fought to the death. A half-empty Dr. Pepper can is the only witness. Ethan, bless his heart, is hunched over his history textbook, chapter on the Industrial Revolution, trying to read about factories and steam engines. But here's the thing, his brain clocked out 30 minutes ago. His eyes droop, his head bobs, and suddenly, boom, he face plants onto the open book. The pages crinkle under his cheek. A soft snore escapes. The kid is out cold. And that's where our story really begins. Because sometimes, in the most ordinary of naps, the most extraordinary of dreams sneak in. Now, here's the funny part about dreams. They don't exactly ask for your permission. They just pull you in, throw you into situations, and expect you to roll with it. And Ethan, he rolls face first into a dream that feels way too real. In the dream, he's not in Maplewood anymore. He's standing in the middle of Times Square, New York City, bright lights, billboards screaming ads for Broadway shows, people buzzing like bees. The kind of scene that slaps you awake even though you're technically asleep. Ethan's still in his hoodie, still got bedhead, but somehow, everyone's looking at him like he's somebody. Big screens flash his name, Ethan Miller, innovator, dreamer, leader. Taxi cabs honk, strangers cheer, and Ethan's holding, wait for it, a giant golden book. Yeah, you heard me right. A giant golden book, glowing like the holy grail of homework. Ethan stares at it, confused, and says out loud, guys. I just failed my last math quiz. Are you sure you got the right Ethan Miller? The crowd laughs. Like literally laughs, the way a sitcom audience would. And then, from the corner of Times Square, walks out an older man in a crisp suit, grey hair slicked back, smile that could sell insurance to an alligator. He's none other than Mr. Richard Anderson, Ethan's history teacher. Only in this dream, Mr. Anderson isn't carrying graded papers. He's carrying a microphone, like some kind of motivational speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Anderson booms, behold the student who fell asleep on knowledge and woke up in success. Ethan blinks. Hold up, did you just roast me in front of New York City? Anderson grins. Kid, sometimes you gotta laugh at yourself before you can lift yourself. And right there, the dream starts to shift gears. We cut to Ethan running, literally running, through scenes of his future life. You know how in movies they fast forward someone's destiny? Yeah, it's like that. 1 second, he's in high school struggling with algebra. The next second, he's standing at a college graduation stage with his parents in the audience, his mom waving a tissue, his dad pretending he's not crying behind dark sunglasses. Flash, Ethan's older, walking into a startup office in downtown San Francisco. Exposed brick walls, people in hoodies typing furiously on Macs, kombucha on tap. Ethan's the CEO. The golden book he carried in Times Square. It's now on his office shelf, glowing faintly, like a symbol of where he started. Flash again, Ethan's giving a TED talk. Spotlights. Giant red letters behind him. He's pacing the stage, wearing a fitted blazer now, sneakers because apparently that's the uniform of successful speakers. And he's telling the audience, I once fell asleep on a book. And I thought that meant I failed. But it turned out, that was the night I started dreaming bigger than I ever had before. Crowd erupts in applause. But here's the kicker, the dream doesn't just show him the highlight reel. It also shows him the messy, awkward, un-Instagrammable parts of success. We see Ethan bombing his first college presentation, stuttering, sweating so much it looks like he ran a marathon. We see him rejected from internships, his inbox full of, "we regret to inform you," emails. We see him eating ramen noodles for weeks straight because broke college life is real. And yet, through all those failures, every single version of Ethan keeps standing back up. Hoodie still on, messy hair still wild, sneakers still untied, but standing back up, nonetheless. At one point in the dream, Ethan meets his future self. Future Ethan is about 35, salt and pepper hair, still rocking sneakers but now with tailored suits. He's calm, confident, the kind of guy who walks into a room and people notice without even knowing why. Present Ethan blurts, me. But, successful, future Ethan chuckles. Kid, I'm you, but I'm the version that didn't give up after failing sophomore year history, or when you thought your dreams were too big for your small town. I'm the version that kept showing up. Even when no one was watching. Even when it was easier to stay asleep. Present Ethan scratches his head. But what if I don't have it in me? Future Ethan looks him dead in the eye. Then why would you be dreaming about it? Boom. Mic drop. Even in his own subconscious, Ethan gets motivational mic drops. And just as quickly as it began, the dream starts to fade. The bright lights of New York, the graduation cheers, the ramen noodle struggle, it all dissolves. And suddenly, Ethan's back in his messy bedroom in Maplewood. The Dr. Pepper can still sits half empty. The pages of his history book still wrinkle under his cheek. And outside, the autumn wind rattles the window slightly. He stirs awake, blinking, realizing he just drooled all over the Industrial Revolution. Classic Ethan. But here's the thing, when he wakes up this time, something feels different. His shoulders don't slump the way they did before. His room, still chaotic, now feels less like a prison and more like a launch pad. And the words from his future self echo in his mind. Why would you be dreaming about it, if it wasn't in you? Ethan stretches, grabs a pen, and scribbles something. Now, folks, let me tell you something. This wasn't just a nap. This wasn't just some silly dream. This was the universe, or maybe just teenage exhaustion, giving Ethan a little preview of what's possible when you dare to picture yourself beyond the moment you're in. Because here's the truth. Success doesn't always start with fireworks, or perfect plans, or even straight A's. Sometimes, it starts with a kid, a hoodie, a messy desk, and the guts to believe that his dreams, no matter how ridiculous they look in the middle of Times Square. So, the next morning in Maplewood dawns with the kind of stubborn sunlight that sneaks through blinds whether you asked for it or not. The weather's crisp, just hovering around 60 degrees, with the smell of damp leaves carried in by a light breeze. Neighbors are already up. Mr. Johnson across the street is watering his front lawn like it's the final round of a gardening competition, and Mrs. Clark is jogging by with her golden retriever, who clearly has more energy than half the town combined. Inside the Miller household, though, the real action is upstairs. Ethan Miller wakes up, not because of an alarm clock he's snoozed at 3 times already, but because his mom yells from the kitchen, "Ethan, if you don't come down in 5 minutes, I'm eating the last waffle." And listen, in this family, waffles are currency. Ethan bolts out of bed, hoodie still on, hair looking like it lost a fight with static electricity. He stumbles into the bathroom, splashes water on his face, and stares at his reflection. And here's the twist, something is different. The kid who stared back yesterday looked tired, slumped, overwhelmed. Today, still tired, still messy, but his eyes have a spark. A flicker of that dream still lingers. Ethan shuffles downstairs, plops at the table, grabs his plate. His dad's already reading the paper. Yes, some dads still do that. And his mom's flipping pancakes with the kind of precision NASA would admire. The kitchen smells like maple syrup, scrambled eggs, and ambition, though maybe that last one was just Ethan projecting. Rough night? His dad asks without looking up. You could say that, Ethan mutters, pouring way too much syrup on his waffles. And then, almost out of nowhere, he blurts, "Hey, do you think people from small towns can actually do big things?" The room goes silent for a second. His mom looks up, spatula in hand. His dad lowers the paper. It's one of those moments where time slows down just enough for the question to hang in the air. His dad finally says, "Ethan, people from small towns build empires. They invent, they create, they lead. Don't let Maplewood's size limit your imagination." Ethan takes a bite of waffle, chews, and nods. He doesn't tell them about the dream, but that one sentence lands like a brick in his chest, in the best way. Fast forward an hour. Maplewood High School. The building is one of those old brick structures that smells faintly of pencil shavings and cafeteria pizza. Hallways are crowded with students in hoodies, varsity jackets, ripped jeans, and thrifted fashion. Lockers slam shut, sneakers squeak on linoleum floors, and conversations about last night's football game mix with complaints about homework. Ethan walks in, backpack half-zipped, hoodie sleeves pulled over his hands. Normally, he blends into the background. But today, he's walking with, not swagger, exactly, but a bit more purpose. In history class, Mr. Anderson, the same teacher from his dream, writes, American Industrial Revolution, on the board in all caps, chalk squeaking in protest. Ethan watches him, almost laughing. In his dream, Anderson was a motivational speaker with a microphone. Here, he's just a tired teacher with coffee stains on his shirt. But Ethan can't shake the overlap. Class drags on, kids doodle, some whisper, but Ethan is scribbling notes like a man on a mission. Not just the facts, but also little reminders. Stand up after failure. Lunchtime in American high schools is its own kind of gladiator arena. You've got the athletes at one table, theater kids at another, the chess club, the gamers, the kids who somehow manage to study through the chaos. And then there's Ethan, usually floating between groups, never fully belonging to one. Today, he sits with his best friend, Jake, a sarcastic, fast-talking kid in a baseball cap. Jake looks at him mid-bite of his pepperoni pizza slice and says, "Dude, why do you look like you found the meaning of life in a waffle?" Ethan smirks. I dunno, man. I had this dream. I saw my—" One evening, a few weeks after the dream, Ethan sits on the back porch with his mom. Fireflies blink in the yard, and the smell of barbecue from a neighbor's grill floats through the air. His mom sips sweet tea and says, "You've been different lately. Focused. What's going on?" Ethan hesitates, then says, "Mom, I think I want to do something bigger with my life. Not just scrape by. I want to make a difference." She smiles, pats his hand, and says, "Ethan, the world doesn't need perfect people. It needs people who try. And if you keep trying, you'll go farther than you think." It's a simple statement, but it cements what Ethan's already begun to believe. Months roll on. Seasons shift. Maplewood goes from crisp autumn to snowy winter. Christmas lights twinkle down Main Street. Kids sled down hills. And in his little bedroom, with posters peeling on the walls and textbooks stacked like skyscrapers, Ethan keeps grinding. There are still failures. Still days he feels like quitting. Still ramen noodle nights. But every time he falters, he remembers that one golden dream, and the voice of his future self urging him not to stop. And here's the takeaway, folks. Ethan's story isn't about becoming famous overnight. It's not about instant success. It's about the small shift, the decision to wake up, to chase, to believe that his story could be bigger than the page he fell asleep on. One night, months later, as he closes his history book, this time awake, he smiles and whispers to himself, "I'm not just sleeping on books anymore. I'm building on them." And that, my friends, is how a nap turned into a lifetime of purpose. So here's the truth for anyone listening. Maybe you've fallen asleep on your own book. Maybe you've drooled on your dreams, failed a few quizzes, coasted through a few weeks of life. That doesn't disqualify you. If anything, it makes you human. What matters isn't where you started, or how messy your desk is, or how small your town might be. What matters is that you wake up. You keep showing up. You keep building. Even if your first blueprint is drawn in Sharpie on notebook paper. Because sometimes, success doesn't start in a boardroom, or a stadium, or a city skyline. Sometimes, it starts in a messy bedroom, with a hoodie-wearing kid, and one dream that refuses to let him go. And Ethan Miller, he's proof of that.
Like and subscribe if you want daily dose of happiness and motivation.